I'd like to call the town meeting of the town of Lake Mills. This is the annual meeting of electors to order. It's Tuesday, April 17th, 2018. It's 7 p.m. and we are at the town hall. The notice for this meeting was posted at the town hall, the North End Boat Launch, the cul-de-sac on Finch Brothers Road, and also on the town's website. And if you're not aware of the town's website, this would be a good time for you to go online, look at that, and get signed up for that so that you can get notices on things that are going on in the town of Lake Mills. I welcome you all here. This is your meeting. I guess the way this usually works is I will preside over it. It will help us if you will sign the sign-up sheet that Sarah sent around, just so that we know who's here when she begins to record minutes. We have the podium set up. If you would like to speak to any of the issues that are on the annual meeting list, please come to the podium, state your name and address, give us your feedback on what you'd like to talk about tonight, and we'll go on from there. So I will start out by asking for a motion to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion? Dave, you're going to motion.
This meeting is your meeting.
Yeah,
so
so
you guys can make the motions and second. Just state your name.
Sue Slauson is motioning. Is there a second to that?
Cindy Miller.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Is there any discussion on the agenda that we have prepared? If not, all in favor of accepting the agenda as published, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Item 3, the approval of minutes from the April 2017 annual meeting. Take a minute to look these over. If there's anything you would like to correct or ask a question about, now is the time. And then I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes as published. Anyone have any questions? Can someone make that motion to approve the minutes?
Sue Lawson, I move to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Got it. Thank you, Deb. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes from the April 2017 annual meeting, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Minutes are approved as published. Item 4 on our agenda are the reports. A is a review of the annual financial report. Sarah.
Excuse me. The printouts, handouts that I sent around are the majority of what I have tonight. Our town computer died, and the new one, and needs to go in for warranty, so I don't have the usual printout that I do comparing the 2017 budgeted to actual numbers. I can tell you that we just dealt with this last month, so find my folder here. We were over, we had to draw from the general fund by $22,568.52 because, mostly because when we do the budget in November, we have preliminary numbers to work with, and our fire protection from the city of Lake Mills was $20,000 more than anticipated, so that's why we were over. We also had more revenues than we had budgeted for, because we usually are very conservative with that figure, so all in all, we're fine. What you have in front of you is 2018, and this is what we do in November, our budget meeting. take a minute to look through it, I guess. I mean, if you have any questions, tell me. I always like to put this little guide together that shows you how we're spending the town's money or where it goes. You know, everybody pays their real estate taxes, and this is what we pay for with it, what we get to keep anyway. I don't know if the one I don't have here is the one that shows of your tax dollars, the percentages of it that go to the different authorities. Most of it is school districts. Over 50% of it goes to the school districts. Another portion goes to Jefferson County, another portion goes to the state, and then we get to keep here a little sliver of it. And between that little sliver, which is on this sheet here as general property taxes, and also now we have the $150,000 we've been collecting for road improvements. The rest of it is just what we can create on our own. Although, now that I say that and look at it, the bulk of it is garbage too. So, point is, this is how we spend that money. All the money that we collect. So, do you have any questions on that? Comments?
I think it's just interesting to look at it like that, see what
I thought it was
percentages.
when I got sat down in this spot, yeah.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Sarah and Sharon do a heck of a job keeping everything together through the year for our township. How are we coming on dog licenses, Sharon?
Oh, there's 95 of them out there that aren't licensed.
95.
And some people are not sending their rabies certificates, and I'm having trouble getting hold of them because when I call, their mailbox is filled. So, I don't know. I don't feel I have to send them a letter telling them to send it to me. But I don't know how. It'll end up, they'll get a letter from the police department.
Which takes
Poor
us,
Matt.
which takes us to Officer Matt Miller, our police chief, newly retired from Jefferson County, and I guess we should honor him. And I told him that he just finished one job and has started another. We're happy to have him in his retirement. Thank you, Matt. Do you want to lead off the annual police report?
Sure. In 2017, we had 659 and 3/4 hours of road patrol. Of that 659 and 3/4 hours, we did 199 and a half hours of radar. We handled 81 complaints, investigated 4 traffic crashes. We issued 279 traffic citations and ordinance citations. Had 181 181 traffic warnings. We assisted Lake Mills PD. We took 10 individuals to jail. Conducted 129 residence checks, 173 park checks, and 10 extra patrols in 2017. On the boat side of the thing for Rock Lake, we had 581 and a half hours of boat patrol on the lake. We issued 28 boating citations, 50 warnings. We did 88 compliance and safety inspections of boats, conducted 1 search and rescue, assisted 5 individuals that were disabled and 9 vessels that were disabled in 2017.
Anything else? Anybody have any questions for Matt? We're very fortunate to have his experience. I wanted to say that I really appreciate Matt. I'm not sure that some of you know that we have this year been approached by the Jefferson County Sheriff to place several sex offenders within our community. We had a couple of public meetings about that. If there are any questions about that, anyone on our board would be able to answer those questions. There is some informational meeting on that back, some informational pamphlets on the back table about sex offenders and their place in our community. And if you're interested in that, I'm sure that any of us could help you with questions and or read that over. So It's been a learning experience for us. We really don't have a choice in this as a township, but it is one of those things that we are participating with the Sheriff's Department on. So thanks, Matt, for your help with those special meetings and pulling all that together. C, the Joint Rock Lake Committee report. I don't see anybody here from the Joint Rock Lake Committee, but I'll give you a little synopsis of what they've been doing. The Joint Rock Lake Committee meets monthly. It is a group of citizens, 3 from the township, 2 from the city, working on joint issues that have to do with Rock Lake. This year, again, the town will be participating in the program called Clean Boats, Clean Waters. Sarah, I, and Patricia Cicero from Jefferson County pretty much run that program for the city and the town. Sarah does all the fiduciary work, and Patricia does the training, and I guess I'm involved in helping select candidates. We have 2 returning people who are meeting and greeting fishermen and other boaters on all of our access points to Rock Lake, screening them for their input and information on aquatic invasive plants and animals. So that's an important program. I think this is the 4th year we've done it. We've accepted the responsibility of as the town to do the financial work for that program. We concentrate on 2 boat launches and spend 200 hours there in the summer, the North End boat launch and the Sandy Beach launch. So that's an important program. They're also working, the Joint Rock Lake Committee is working on a pier ordinance. We're refining that, and we hope to be bringing that back for approval of the town later on this year. And they're also working on educational events to put together some pamphlets and things that we support for information for boaters and other users of Rock Lake. So that's kind of what the Joint Rock Lake Committee has been up to this year. If you are not on the agenda, the next item, a period of public comment, is a time for anyone here who has a concern or wants to voice an opinion. It looks like down the road here in new business we have a couple of issues. You can see them: the chip seal, the intersection, board salaries, the clerk's job, committee appointments. If you want to speak about anything that is not in that category of new business, now would be the time to address the board or to talk with each other about it. I want you to understand that this is your meeting. We're kind of holding it, and it's up to you to carry the ball here. So if there's anyone who wants to make a public comment, now's the time.
Would that include road improvements from last year now, or after the topic of chip seal?
Well, let's talk about the chip seal when we get to that in the new business area. So if there's anything else, I'd love to hear it.
So is the chip seal going on Sherwood Hills Road going to be the same that was put on Shorewood Meadows Drive?
Let's talk about that when we get to it,
Okay.
okay? We'll go there quickly because we really have no old business. Let's go right on to new business. And because it's your meeting, you know, you want to add anything in here, I'm all ears, and so is the rest of our board. So item 7, new business. A, the discussion and decision on the chip seal applied to the road, Shorewood Hills Road. Jamie Hansen. Should I give a little history before we get started, and then you guys can jump in? I know that Jamie is here. Let's see, where do I want to start? Every year, the town of Lake Mills has we have a revolving road plan. Our roads are evaluated by the 3 of us biannually. We go out spring and fall and look at our roads. We know from the numbers that Sarah gives us what our highway dollars are going to be. We have a couple of different pots of money that we do road improvements from, and we evaluate our roads on a system that is statewide called a PACER system. And so that system gives us a number for each one of our roads. And when we do the road tour, we drive all the roads, we look at them, we look at the signage, we look at the fire numbers, we look at the condition of the road, and we prioritize those roads as we look at them. In the last few years, we've done a combination of We've done some highway reconstruction. We did London Road, and last summer we did Newville Road. It takes a couple of years to plan those events and get those roads ready. In the meantime, we are continually worrying about the other 38 miles of roads. Most of our roads are 2 to 3 miles long. And so part of our strategy has not been to, we know that we can't do all roads that we'd like to do, but we use a combination of road treatments in order to buy ourselves some time. And so I can't remember what year we did Shorewood Hills Road, but it was at least 3 years ago. We have experienced a great number of local highway contractors simply going by the wayside. And so we've been working exclusively with a couple of different contractors who we feel we got a good quality product from. We chip sealed, we crack sealed all of the auxiliary roads, like Shorewood Meadows, Cedar Lane, all of those auxiliary roads, Sunset Terrace, all of those roads prior to 2010. And that crack sealing held up really well. We then applied a seal coat, a chip seal coat to Shorewood Hills Road. I believe it was 2012.
Yeah.
Something like that, 12 or 13. At that time, we didn't have the money to do those auxiliary roads. And so we let those go until last summer, and then we applied the seal coating that you see today. We used the Scott Construction Company to do that. We've had very good luck with them. The year before, we did a seal coating on Elm Point Road. And after they seal coat, they usually come through and do a sweep to get rid of all of the excess gravel. The seal coating for those auxiliary roads, other than Shorewood Hills, got done very late last year in the season. And it was swept once, but after our tour last week, and we've been realizing it all winter, that we have a real problem with that chip seal. And I appreciate the fact that some of you have brought that to my attention, although I might have been a little sensitive about it because it was snowing and I was crabby. But it's always my experience in the last 10 years that we get excited about getting the neighborhood cleaned up long before the event is over. And this year is another example of that. But I guess when we were out touring, all of those cul-de-sacs in those areas are just loaded with that stone. My road, Cedar Lane, doesn't look like it has any of the chip seal sticking to it. I have worked closely with their representative, Bob Bruja, and Bob got a call last week. I talked to him earlier about the need for sweeping, and he sent me an email about that in February, that he would help us with that. He's very much interested in keeping us as his customers happy, but we got a big mess to clean up. And if you think I've been dragging my feet, you're right. I wasn't expecting to have a snowstorm on the 15th of April, but we really have to wait until they get their crews up and running. So I tried to make an appointment with Bob this week. He's coming to see me next week. Of course, he'll make things right, but I don't know if we had bad oil, bad chips, or bad everything, you know?
Whether it's contractor error or material error, it was a disaster.
It looks worse now than before they did. That's why I'm asking, Shorewood Hills Road, at least down by us. I know when you go down further, there are potholes. But down by us, tonight, when I came home from work and I got on Shorewood Hills Road and then I went into my subdivision, Shorewood Hills Road down by us looks 10 times better than our roads. You know,
So we're going to have to hold their toes to the fire.
Can't
I mean, get it out. Get it out. If you got something to say, get it out. Because I'll tell you what, I'm not a highway expert. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot along with these guys. But this is not an
Can't they
easy
be held
thing.
responsible?
Well, they will be.
Yeah, my name is David Ware. I live at N6632 Woodfield Lane, and we were subject to the seal coating. Well, I appreciate from last year the dedicating of the $150,000 towards road improvement. We have to spend that money wisely and not get a defective product or a defective installation. And frankly, what happened on our lane, Woodfield Hills, and the rest of the feeder lanes onto the Shorewood Hills area was a disaster. Whether you call it chip sealing or seal coating, it failed miserably. Little, if any, of the gravel that was applied there is adhering to the pavement. Where is it all going? Our front yards, each and every time it's plowed. So far this spring, I personally have removed 450 pounds of pea gravel from the 80 feet of my lawn along the street. And of course, yesterday, I imagine about another 50 pounds of pea gravel was dumped in the first 15 feet of my lawn. And I've spent about 5 or 6 hours hand raking, trying to get that little pea gravel out of my lawn because it is absolutely covering the lawn such that the lawn is going to die. Not only is that, but the road is a mess when you drive down it. It's capturing the dirt, it's dusty when it's a dry day, but forget about washing your car anymore. You drive down one path of the road and your car wash is done. We have now changed our way of travel into town. Instead of going, we live at the end of Woodfield Lane, and we normally would go down Woodfield Lane to Shorewood Hills and out. Now we turn the opposite way, so we only have to go past 2 yards and turn onto Shorewood Hills because thankfully they haven't had this disaster of this pea gravel everywhere, and at least try to preserve our cars from this. Every snow plowing brings another showering, another couple hours of work of getting this pea gravel that was either defectively applied or contractor error in how they did it, or the materials were defective, but somehow this has to be solved. And to sweep it, here's my concern. I've spent about 6 hours getting 450 pounds out of my lawn already. I don't want it swept into my lawn. I want the gravel removed from the roadway and not swept into our lawns. And then have it done right. And this is not something the city or the town should be paying for. This is something that should be billed to the contractor because it was obviously defective in either materials or in the way it was applied. This is not the way it should happen.
Thanks for your comment.
Hi, I'm Mike Kennedy. I live at W8432 Shorewood Meadows Circle. In the same facet, what was your name? Sorry.
David Weir.
David was mentioning, I'm at the end of the court. I understand customer service because that's the industry I'm in. I understand holding people accountable. But I have a couple of things that I guess I'd like to discuss. One is the gravel, obviously. I don't know, I heard there was a road tour that drove through. I don't know about 450 pounds, but by my measurement, 1.5 to 2 feet tall, 4 feet into my yard. It's this high. And we're not talking about from the street. We're talking about it's all the way up to my trees. And that's not, as Hope told me in an email, part of your property. I was reminded in an email, and thank you for your candor at the beginning of this to state you've been a bit testy. But my welcome to this neighborhood that I've lived in for a year, and I spent good money to live in and pay $7,000 a year in property tax, which might not be much to some of your houses. But I was reminded that a little sweat equity and a rake would clean up my yard. Mind you, this is the day my mom passed away.
Sorry.
I felt really good about it, being told that I just spent $500,000 on a house. I give you $7,000 a year in property tax and a little sweat equity. I don't know if sweat equity means buying a Bobcat or a front end loader, but I did not appreciate that very much, to tell you the truth. I've been a professional in my career for a long time, and I can honestly say it's been a long time since somebody talked to me like I was in 4th grade, without knowing the facts of what was going on in my yard. Because if you would have seen it, at the time, before your comments, you probably would have been like, I'm really sorry. In your second email, you stated to me that it's already been decided that it's going to be sweeped and I should take everything to the road and they will pick it up. I'll tell you what, if I need to hire somebody to come out and take care of that, I'm not paying the bill. The contractor can pay the bill. If the contractor's not picking it up, I'm not talking about a rake. I don't need a rake. I need shovels. I need a lot of things. I probably need a rake just to get it out of the grass once I get to that area. Unfortunately, I did not print the pictures. I did send them to you via email. But literally, no snow underneath. I have sections that are 1 foot tall to 2 feet tall of gravel. And I no longer have a culvert. It's full, it's flat all the way across, and it's that high.
What is your address, sir?
I'm at the end of the court, W8432, Shorewood Meadows Court. Unfortunately for all that's involved, I am where the snowbank goes. You know, that's where you plow, and I get it. I know that's where everything happens, and every year I'm going to have to fix that grass. You know, that I get it. I live in the country for a good portion of what this is, but I also live in a township, and I felt the roads were much better before this was done. Because even before we had this in our yards, we knew it was loose. You would turn the corner at 15 miles an hour and your car would slide. Your steering wheel would not turn. They came and they swept and they filled our whole neighborhood with dust, which it's going to happen. I mean, we closed the windows. The whole house was dusted. I power washed it. You know, the pool's filled. The filter's clogged. You know, I had to drain all that out. I get it. You know, I understand. I got leaves too. That's my problem. I know where I live. And I live there for a reason, because I love the peace, I love the quiet, I love the serenity, I love the neighborhood. I love everybody there. You know, they've been great. But this is just unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. The handling of it, the way that it's done, the defectiveness of it, and the way that the town has handled it. You know, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that I need to bring that up, but I did not appreciate it. I think you were paid as well to work for us. And if you're going to reply to us or work for us, you should do that in a manner that's conducive of customer service. That's the industry I'm in. I would expect, I'm going to look into it. I'll find out what's going on. So I appreciate you starting the meeting. You did make me feel a lot better when you said, you know, I'm sorry if I was a bit testy. I get it. But there's some people that are in certain places that you have to understand that don't accept that very well. And my first altercation with you, or conversation with you, was not a very good one. With that being said, whatever needs to be done, it needs to be done. And it needs to be done, you know, it not our expense. I don't expect to see at our next board meeting hearing that we're paying for more. Numerous members of our community have talked about, you know, I understand that you can't blacktop everything, but this used to be a beautiful area. I mean, I have pictures of it.
Now we have a gravel road.
And
a high-class subdivision.
And, you know, it's, you would think, not that our neighborhood is better than anyone else's or that area of town is better than anyone else's, but you would think that, you know, what was there wasn't horrible. You would think we would wait until we would have the money put aside or hold a meeting to talk about how we're going to pay for it or whatever to do it right. So that's really all I have. I want this taken care of, and I would like to find out as soon as possible who's going to do it, how it's going to get done, and what responsibilities people have in the matter, so we can take care of it.
Now, Hope, when you talk about there being a quality contractor that we use, if this is the evidence of the quality contractor, this is the contractor we should not be using further, because they didn't do it right this year.
Right. And I mean,
if you're going to do Shorewood Hills Road, you're going to create a disaster if you're using the same contractor with the same level of skill. You'd be better off leaving the road alone rather than destroying it.
We used this same contractor for Shorewood Hills 4 or 5 years ago. We used the same contractor last year for Elm Point Road, or the year before for Elm Point Road. And last year they did some repairs on Elm Point. So if you think that we planned to have this happen, you're 100% wrong.
Oh, I don't think you intentionally wanted to screw us, that's not it. I'm just stating that mistakes happen, and the way we handle them is generally what creates the outcome. I don't think many of us would be here today had this been told through the proper channels that, hey, you know, we're going to get this taken care of, count on your government, you know, we're sorry. It was kind of like, deal with it, get some sweat equity, do your job, and make your yard look nice. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in one's mouth. I guess, and I'm not very educated, probably. I must remind you that the right-of-way belongs to the town. 33 feet from the center line of the road is town property. That's good information. I don't know those kind of things, but here we go. Any structures, plantings, or other items such as your mailbox falls in our jurisdiction. The plan is to sweep the roads again in the spring to remove the loose sand and gravel. A little sweat equity in a rake should shape up your yard. I must remind you, you live in a rural subdivision and not a city street. Like, I'm a city slicker. I moved out to the country. Winter is hard on all the roads, lawns, and the cars. Unfortunately, this kind of debris is part of providing safe travel and an environment in which you live. Okay, I get it. But I would expect somebody to say to me, well, thank you for reaching out, Mr. Kennedy. You know, let us have a look and find out what's going on. I mean, I don't think you had bad intentions, but at the same time, you know, you ought to know what you're talking about. Because I got a lot of gravel.
Who got that type of reply?
I got a lot of gravel.
My wife got the reply, but we had a pleasant email to you.
I didn't have a bad email.
Right.
I just said I'd like to know what's happening.
It was, Meredith, what was the wording of it? Basically, you live in the country, and if you'd like to take over road duties, I'm free and open to that. As if it, understandably, it's your job. That's
Yeah.
why you're elected to this place.
And
Don't tell us if you'd like to take it over and do it better, do it.
And if you'd like some help.
That's your job.
I can help.
Like I said again, if you think that we plan to have this failure, you are wrong.
No.
And
we
I
didn't plan it.
apologize.
Thank you. I appreciate
Hey,
that.
Hope, what did they, you said now the same guys did Sherwood Hills Road, which looks real nice, okay? What did they do different to our roads that this was such a fiasco? It should have been the same process, yes?
It's really actually hard to say. It could have been road temperature, it could have been moisture, it could have been shade. They
Excess
possibly, they possibly could have gotten
They did put a lot
faulty
of gravel
emulsions.
down.
The emulsions may not have been thick enough to bond the stone. There might not have been enough time from the time it was applied until it got cold outside, and it just rolled back out. So, and we did look at it. Last Thursday we went through it. We did take a good hard look at it. So we feel your pain. We see it.
So at this point, you're gonna meet with them next week, so you don't know what they're gonna say in terms of, here's the fix. And we're not gonna spread more of this gravel into your yard.
I don't know the date of your email, but I have this email from Bob from Scott Construction on March 7th, and I asked him if he would do some sweeping. Can you give me a price for sweeping? No, Shorewood, Bridle Path, and Elm Point neighborhood. There's a large amount of sand and pea gravel on the roads. I'd appreciate a price to remove the debris so that we can talk about it tonight. He replied to me, a maximum would be $7,000, but I will split the cost with you since some of the material is probably from the chip seal. So,
That's
No,
that's
absolutely
Well,
not.
Hope, where are they gonna sweep it? Where are they gonna sweep it to?
well, they will need, I also have another bid for sweeping, which we'll be discussing at our regular meeting, from Forest for sweeping, and the cost is $37,500. So both of those bids are very close. I guess I would like to work with the contractor and make him toe the line. And they would have to be trucking that
Yeah.
away. It has to be swept up and removed. It can't just go
Right.
to the boulevards, because we really don't have boulevards.
The snowplow did that.
And we have this trouble every year, you know, we have snowplow damage in the right-of-way every year. If we were to begin construction on Woodfield Lane, there would be many, many things in the right-of-way. You can think that through. We had an incident this winter where someone placed a large stone near their mailbox, and a car ran up on that, and bingo, it's in the right-of-way. It's our responsibility to keep that clear. We have these little troubles, and I guess you guys just hit me on the wrong day, and I apologize, but it was a little hard to talk about at the end of February dust from the chip seal on a day when we're predicted to have 5 inches of snow. I mean, I understand that the gravel gives you all a large pain where it doesn't show. But in the big picture of things, what we have is a failure from our applicator. And there isn't much we can do about it until, number one, the weather changes and the weather warms up, and then we get them here to evaluate and tell us what they're willing to do.
Like, I live across from Mike, and like he said, he gets the plow up to their front of their yard, and then right next door to me on the other side, they get the other one. And these are people, I don't see them often. They have not high, well, they have some high piles, but they have about 3 to 4 feet into their yard. They don't like to do a lot of yard work, so I don't foresee them going out and doing any raking, which I did already this spring on a nice day. I raked all of it out of my yard, but now it's all back in my yard, and when they mow and they don't remove it from their yard, it's gonna be back in my yard.
It's no different on Cedar Lane, lady.
The problem was evident within a few days of application.
Do you think so?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I work for the DOT. I'm not a pavement expert, but I know enough, I mean, to see like piles of it 3 inches deep on the road for a few weeks after application was strange. I mean, you could tell it wasn't in here. I don't know, was it September, October when they filed it?
It was September.
Okay. So in several weeks passed by, initially it did come sweep up, but a lot of it had already been pushed off to the side of the road. But I guess it was interesting to hear you run down over the past few treatments of roads. I guess I'm curious, was a crack seal deemed not, what alternatives were considered? Was a crack seal not sufficient for the roads at this time, or how was a chip sealing picked over crack sealing?
We actually did the crack sealing 1 year prior to
We
the,
did the crack sealing many years prior to this.
Okay,
And we just try to put that puzzle together with what cash we've got to apply to that.
so is there any plan at any point in the future for an actual resurfacing of the road? I mean, obviously a chip seal is a band-aid for a certain amount of time, right? I
right?
mean, do you have anything in the planning horizon at this point for resurfacing?
Actually, the roads in our suburban areas, those roads that we're talking about, Elm Point, Shorewood Hills, Upper Shorewood Hills, are really low on the scale. They're in very, very good shape. The outlying roads that we're looking at, Court Lane, Airport Road, Mud Lake, Crossman Road, those are the 4 top roads that we have. Some of them you might not even know about.
That's why I was a little surprised. I mean, I agreed, I only moved there about a year ago. I thought the road was in fairly good shape. I understand the need for preventative maintenance, but I was a little surprised when they came by and did the chip sealing. So. And you answered the other, my other question was, knowing what the proposed treatment is, but you don't know yet what the contractor.
I won't know what he will
I mean, it's
suggest.
Good to hear that you're saying that they need to not only sweep it, but remove it.
It has to go away. We can't just leave it in the right of
And
way.
I think one thing to bring up besides the mess is the safety issue.
Yes.
Because kids on bicycles
Yeah.
or motor scooters.
Well, and you know,
and that,
Sue,
it's like
you know that our neighborhood is highly used by walkers, bikers, and dog walkers,
And I
so.
think that's another thing
Important
about
safety
the
part.
priority. We have a lot of traffic, and I think traffic areas should be a priority.
Okay, go
I have
ahead.
a little short-term suggestion. I was out after this last snowfall. I like a lot of people here, cleared the gravel out. I didn't have, I mean, it was a pain in the ass, but I didn't have a lot of problem with it. However, when he came by, I happened to be in the driveway with the plow. If he would go something less than about 40 miles an hour, it wouldn't be pushed. It's 4 or 5 feet back again. And is it necessary to go that fast? I understand. He's on a contract, but
It is fast.
I'm looking at more than I had the first pass.
I understand.
Another question I have is why are you considering paying for this repair work?
Right.
He's saying, I'll split the difference.
The sweeping, because we have a huge amount of sand that,
So not just what they did.
we have a
You've got
huge
another-
amount of sand
Okay.
that's been added to the roadway to top off all of the pea gravel moving around. Go ahead.
I'd like to raise a point about when they swept our Shorewood Hills Road. They did a lousy job on it. I mean, I was there watching when it came by with the sweeper. They made a pass down this side, a pass up this way, and
Yeah.
they came back down the middle. And they didn't pick up the majority of the rocks that they should have.
Well,
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
did a
they sat
lousy
in the
job.
middle of our court. He just sat there in the truck spinning, like, literally, there was probably 45 minutes that he stayed in one spot and then went around the circle where the manhole was, and he didn't even like come by our driveways or anything. He just sat there. I don't know if they had a problem or what was going on, but literally, I was home that day, unfortunately.
I think that they knew at that point that there was a huge amount of gravel that was leaving the surface.
Yeah.
You know, normally there would not be that much.
So why did they?
Oh, a specific point, I bike a lot up and down Shorewood Hills Road. Majoma Shores, the belly there. If there's two cars and I'm at the bottom of that hill, for the last 3 or 4 years, the sand really gathers there. It's almost impossible to stay upright. So if whoever is doing this in the future, if they could pay just a little attention to that little pothole down there, because it really is dangerous.
As a township, you know, the way we get work done, highway work, sign work, any kind of striping, any kind of work that needs to be done, we contract for it. This is the year we will be contracting for snow removal. We don't have a crew that can just come out and say, we're raking this up, we're cleaning this up. We're going to have to hold their toes to the fire, and I'm sure that the relationship that we have with them will pay off, because we've been using them for a long time for this. Maybe some of you were here when I was first serving on the board. We talked a little bit about the slag ceiling, the dark black ceiling that you see on some roads. And when we discussed that, it was a little more expensive. It's been around for about 10 years. We discussed the fact that, yes, it looks nice, but it doesn't really add any substance to the road. And that's the advantage of this chip seal. It's supposed to anneal to the tar and the oil that they put down, and then build that surface of the road. Fill a lot of those imperfections, keep the water out of the cracks, and preserve the pavement. That's the strategy. You see the big pothole we have on Shorewood Hills Road.
The wheel buster.
It's almost impossible to repair at this point in time because it's been so wet. The only way to repair that is to blow it out, get it dried out, and then come back in and compact it and patch it. The reason that it's busting up there is because that's where water sits. There's a culvert there. There's a crack. And that's why that part of the roadway is deteriorating. I wouldn't look for repairs in the Shorewood Hills area of the reconstruction type for years to come. We've got so many other miles of crappy road. Go ahead.
Actually, that was what my question was, is you're saying that many of the other roads, like Court Park Road, is worse off than now Shorewood Meadows. I happen to disagree. I walk both those roads, and I think because of the chip seal, Shorewood Meadows looks worse. We have more traffic than the Court Park Road. It's worse. And I'm wondering, when you did your road inspection, if you actually got out of the cars and actually looked at the roads. I mean, it's down to the potholes. I mean, I no longer have an underground fence because the plows that came through my front yard tore up the gravel, tore it up so badly that the fence no longer works.
Well, here again, you have some structure in that right-of-way that belongs to the town.
But
You
that's
need to
my other
honor
question
that
about
33 feet.
Other roads being worse than our road, I just don't see it. I walk those roads every single day. And I think Shorewood Meadows is probably one of the worst roads in the whole town.
I think you need to take a ride out on Airport Road.
How many people live on Airport Road,
How
though?
many
We have a
traffic
high
accidents
concentration of
I understand,
houses.
I
There's
understand.
what, 4 farms on Airport Road, there's maybe 4 on
How
Mud
many
Lake
people walk
Road.
their walk their dogs on airport.
We have
Road? How many people
contractors
ride their
driving
bikes
in
or ride
daily
bikes
with
right
big
and
trucks.
On Airport Road.
But I'm really wondering, like, did you get out and look? Did you get out and look at, or did you just drive it?
From Newville, you walk from Newville Road up to the bridge on Airport Road. Just walk that road.
How about a study on how many vehicles are driving down the road? I mean, there's got to be a huge difference of what comes in and out of the two ends of Shorewood Hills Road.
But you're missing the point, you guys.
I don't think I am.
I don't think
I
that
think
we
you're
as
diverting
a,
my point.
that we as a town board are going to classify different kinds of roads in the town of Lake Mills. Internally, we know that some roads are very subdivision type roads and some are rural roads. But if you think that we're going to start to pick and choose by who lives where, that's not
Not
how.
who, how
How
many?
many? How many?
Yes.
There's a lot more taxpayers' money coming out of that court than there is on a rural subdivision where no one's walking.
Well, that's food for thought for this board.
I do want to say that I did get out of the car, as did Dave and Hope, so we did inspect, especially that culvert at the end of Shorewood Hills, Shorewood Meadows there.
Oh, my house?
Yeah.
And the one on Sunset Court.
I know we're coming to the end, and I don't mean to interrupt you, because I just don't want to lose train of thought. I know there's a couple of us that actually have probably more than sweat equity to clean it up. Is there a plan when you're speaking to them to tell them to clean that up as well?
I will take all of the comments that have been made tonight, and they will be forwarded to the construction company.
And what was the name of the construction company again?
Scott Construction.
Scott.
Construction, yeah.
My question to you folks is, we're going to hold Scott's, liable, so hopefully they will do some replacement. What do you want done? Do you want it re-chip sealed?
No.
Just do it right.
Do it right, and if not, return to what we had. It was a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
What are our options?
Yeah.
It would be either redo it, fog seal it, sweep it up as best we can, and leave it as it is.
I think they should redo it for free.
Oh yeah, that would be our objective.
What's fog seal?
Fog seal is they take bottom ash out of coal burning power plants, and it's mixed with the emulsion, and then it's sprayed on the road, and it looks like a brand new black road.
And you've seen that treatment some places here in the city. And
Yeah.
I referred to this before. When we talked about it, it was new. We decided that we really didn't want to go with it, that we liked the idea of building a little road mass. And we also were afraid of the contaminants that are contained within that fog seal bottom ash. And that does not build as much road surface. Be observant of it. The city has used several different treatments, and you can see the different treatments that they have done. And we've been soliciting some bids. We'll begin soliciting bids for more road work this year. I have some prices from Scott, so. It's your name that's on the agenda, Jamie. Would you like to have your go at it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
My name is Jamie. I live at W8243 Stockbridge Court. I live at the corner. Lidenbau's old house?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we moved there about a year ago from Monona. Monona's a pretty nice town too. I can tell you having a corner lot and the problem with the chip seal stuff, it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone here has said a lot of stuff already about it. I have a wheelbarrow and 2 5-gallon buckets of chip seal sitting in my garage that I don't know what I'm going to do with. And I haven't even got to the end.
Yeah.
So another thing too is I want to let you guys be aware of something. Where I live, there's a neighbor that hired out a private contractor to plow out their driveway. They were plowing it into my yard across the street, which I thought was illegal.
It is.
So if you go to my house, where my house is, you'll see huge mounds of white snow packed with rock that hasn't melted yet. So I went over and talked to the gentleman. I was just, he was nice. I was trying to be cordial. But I just want to let you know, people are dragging that stuff across the road. I don't know how many other people have private people doing it, but it is happening. And like I said, I thought it was illegal to do that.
Well, it
It's
is.
not my place to try to apply the law or anything like that, but I thought it was kind of screwed up because that intersection, which is also another thing that I have on topic here, is collecting a lot of rock. A lot. Unfortunately, I haven't got down to that part yet before the snow, but it's getting wheelbarrows full and wheelbarrows full. We'll pull it out. So here's my question. You said that the right-of-way or whatever for the city is from the middle of the road to 33 feet. So my question is, if it's in my yard and it's your guys' property,
Yeah.
then aren't you guys responsible to pick it up?
We could treat your road just like we treat all the other roads.
I understand that, but if you're saying, well, this is our property from here to here, and it's a failure on their part to apply this stuff correctly, why is it my responsibility to clean it up?
I guess I'll broach this with the contractor.
And I'm not pointing the finger of blame at anybody here. I'm frustrated like everybody else. I moved in this beautiful neighborhood. I didn't think the roads were bad in the first place either. And then they come through and they start doing the chip seal, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And now I feel like I'm driving up to like a cabin up north with the rocks flying up underneath my car. And I get it, people make mistakes, but I think most people here just want to see some clarity and get a little bit of reassurance. I think that this gentleman here felt like he was belittled, which sucks, especially when you're dealing with this stuff, because that is a really nice neighborhood, and I think the chip seal is a black eye to that area. It really is. But
Right, as long as you have the podium, why don't we move on to the next subject? I think we've clarified this. You want to say something
I
else?
just want to respond to your question about the proposed treatment. Yes, I mean, I'm on Upper Shorewood Hills Road, so I can't speak for all the other roads, but like I said, I didn't think the road, you talked about trying to build up and smooth out the imperfections of the road, right? I didn't think the road was in that bad a shape before. I mean, if the crack seal is sufficient, like preventive maintenance to keep it from holding together for a while, I don't know if applying another chip sealing treatment would be necessary. I mean, I didn't think the ride quality it was nice and smooth for riding a bike or taking a wagon down. So I mean, if it's needed for other reasons, if it's badly cracked and needed, okay. But just to smooth out the surface, I think it was okay before.
I think it was a good idea, like when you said you were going to ask, what the remedy would be. I think personally, sweeping it up, getting rid of all the gravel and sealing it with that stuff you're talking about would probably be sufficient. That would be acceptable to me. I don't know what everybody else feels like, but
We're going to have to go back to the contractor. I think maybe the best way for us to communicate once we've heard from him is to put this on our next agenda, and/or for you guys to stay tuned on the internet so that if there are messages or another meeting of one kind or another, we can solve that problem. It'd be nice if we could find a place for that pea gravel to go so that it just wouldn't all go to the dump, that it could go somewhere in the right-of-way that would be helpful. Right-of-way issues are constant problems in an urban neighborhood as the one we live in. But we live in a town. We don't live in a city. We have minimal street lights that we pay dearly for to the city of Lake Mills. We mow our right-of-way ditches in the rural areas. In the not-so-rural areas, most people keep their lawns up. It's up to you how you want to treat your right-of-way. But when we come through and say we're replacing a culvert or we're redoing a road, I don't want to hear any whining about that right-of-way because you've built a bridge there or you've built a mailbox garden or, A couple years ago when they did County Highway S, I had to move a whole garden that I had in front of my property because I built it in the right-of-way. So it's a touchy little issue. And I know you want to treat it like your lawn, but it's the town's right-of-way. That's where utilities are, and that's a real clear example right out here on Main Street of where that right-of-way is and what needs to be there.
I understand that, but your ditch, for example, is just wild grass and trees. Whereas where our houses are, it's all wide open, and if we just let our weeds grow through the gravel, it would look terrible. We have to get the gravel out, and we have to mow that grass so that the neighborhood looks nice. There is a difference. I understand
Come
your
on.
33 foot
I live in the
thing,
same
but
neighborhood you do. I have the same amount of pea gravel in all of
You
my pack of
you
sand.
have grass this tall in your ditch, and it's different than when you get out in the open spaces where it's grass right up to the road. If we just let it grow like that, it would look terrible. Values would go down, there'd be complaints.
Let me work with the contractor, and then we'll put this on our agenda for May. Sorry to keep you at the podium.
I
Yes?
just have a quick question. So, like this gentleman here, I live at the end of Sunset Court, and so I am subject to everybody's pea gravel from the start of the cul-de-sac to the end.
Exactly. Yep.
I don't mind a little sweat equity, I get that. But if there's gonna be a remedy that doesn't require me to go out there and remove the 2 feet of gravel that's well beyond your 33-foot line, when will we know that? Because I don't wanna have to spend time out there away from my family, which was the main reason we moved to this subdivision, if I don't have to. And I feel like I shouldn't have to, and I wanna know when I'm gonna know that.
Bob told me that he would meet with me next week, so if you want to leave your email, then I'll communicate with you. Maybe that would be the best thing to do, is to pass around another piece of paper with email addresses, and then I can send an email out.
Can't you just put it on the town's website? and
I suppose we could do that too.
We can all look at that. I think most of us can do that.
You know, we're going to have another storm tomorrow. We're going to have more
Yeah.
pea gravel moving around.
Yeah.
And it's no different at my house than it is at your house, so bear with us on this. Okay, let's go on to item B, discussion and decision on the intersection of Woodfield Lane and Stockbridge Court. Jamie?
Okay, just real quick, as I told you before, I live at that intersection. Initially, I had emailed in a while ago, probably this past summer, about the stop sign that's there, that's in the corner of my yard, that's like this.
Yeah, oh yeah, I saw that.
I emailed saying, hey, can you guys please come and fix it? Because I thought the plows were going to take it out. I mean, it's literally like this. And I might have actually talked to you, sir, Mr. Miller.
You talked.
Did we talk on the phone?
Did.
Yes, okay. The amount of traffic that goes through there and the people that do not stop at that stop sign.
Yeah.
I have a 2.5-year-old and another one on the way, and a dog, and I do not want my kid being hit by a car. There's pea gravel down now that is loose, which will probably take people longer to stop if something does happen. Keep in mind, I do keep an eye on my child, but that doesn't, everyone's child gets away from them once in a while. That intersection, I don't know if there's anything can be done. It is a serious problem. I could sit out there on a Saturday, and I bet you I could get 30, 40 vehicles driving through there without stopping. Easily. Easily. I talked to you, Mr. Miller, I think on the phone. You said that there was going to be an increased presence, and you had issued a citation. To tell you the truth, since that point, I haven't actually ever seen anybody out there.
We've been out there.
Right, I know, but I'm saying, and I'm not saying that you're not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I haven't seen anybody out there. So, and it's still a huge problem. Huge problem. And I mean, people are going through that thing 15, 20 miles an hour, just all day long. All day long. There's people walking their dogs, jogging. Kids are out. There's kids on all three sides.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know what else we can do. I mean, I'm just looking for a little resolution on what we can do. I'm glad that a lot of communities here so they can hear, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of it if you're familiar with the intersection.
Yeah.
It is bad.
We live right next door, and I can totally concur.
It's bad.
So what's the solution, do you think?
I think we could notify most of the people in the community, because most of the people going through there are not transient people.
Right.
Most of the neighborhood that's there,
Neighbors.
and you can let your neighbors know that we do have a presence there, and we will issue citations. There will be no warnings.
And I'm
going through there. I'm just letting everybody know, because it is an issue. And we do run stationary, we park on Stockbridge just off of Woodfield and try to walk along those pine trees.
Yep.
I can tell you exactly where we park.
Right, and
And, you know, we do stop vehicles, we did hit it fairly heavy the time that we talked. We can't always just focus on one intersection, obviously, or just one area. You know, we can't sit there our entire 8-hour shift. And I know that there's people going through there because it's a three-way stop, it's not a highway, you know what I mean? So, we are aware of it, but I guess, you know, I let the community know we will be out there and we'll be issuing citations. Because most people going through there are local people. And it's their neighborhood, it's not a lot of transient people.
I think it's a shortcut for a lot of people, and the
Well,
other,
you say that, but I mean, I'm talking about the Sherwood Hills area.
right,
It's not like they're taking a shortcut to go into the city, or, you know, I'm sure, I mean, obviously there's people that go through there that are not local, but I'm talking about the Sherwood Hills area in general, are going through there. And I agree with you, I mean, I've stopped multiple vehicles there.
and I don't know if there's anything, you know,
We can put flags up,
yeah, besides that, you know, like
you know, we can put a speed board up, you know. when we're
that's
not
what I
there.
was actually gonna,
Sure,
that's what I was
we
actually
can do
gonna
some of those
ask.
things, and unfortunately last year, I was unable to do that because the speed boat we had available to us is through the sheriff's department, and it was down the entire year. I'm hoping that it gets repaired and it's up, and I would gladly bring it out there. And I think it's needed in those neighborhoods.
Right.
That I don't know if a speed boat would prevent everything, but at least it's some preventative.
Use the one that's on Shorewood Hills Road that's actually checking people going uphill.
Right.
When really it should be the other way of the people going downhill.
Right, I didn't
So
put
it's
that one
doing
up.
nothing.
I didn't put that one up, I wasn't here at that time.
Or you can use that pothole.
But, you know, those are some of the things that we can do for you.
Maybe a speed
And
bump.
I think most of the people in the community that are around that area, or just in general that have kids, would really appreciate it because, like I said, it worries me sometimes because people come tearing around that corner, they don't know what's going on. I got that huge pine tree in my yard. You can't see some kid comes around the corner, you're gonna run them
Well,
right
then
over.
they continue on down Woodfield Lane towards Shorewood Hills at a rapid rate of speed.
Well, it's a hill.
And no, I don't know what the answer is. But I think a speed bump there would be great. Slow
Or
us
rumble
down.
strip or something.
Yeah,
something
something
like
that.
that. As a reminder.
Strip has its own.
So just to wrap it up, I appreciate everything you guys have done. I am more than grateful for what you guys have done. I just wanted to bring it up again, and the fates align that you're here and we talked and stuff like that. But I think it's a problem.
And again, if you see it lacking, where you don't see the squads out there as much as you want, you're free to give me a call.
Yeah, and I didn't want to pester you, you know.
Sometimes
But
it works the best.
right, and I know you guys are busy and you
You're not
have.
the only ones that have speeding problems and traffic problems, you know what I mean? So
Right.
sometimes they're allocated to a different location, and sometimes they, you know, don't remember to go over to that as much as I would like them to.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with complaining. Keeps it in the forefront sometimes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering if, those little children at play cutouts would help to remind neighbors that this is a children's zone. That's maybe having a corner there.
Where can you get those? I know a lot of police stations have them, but I don't.
Well, we can buy signs for anything that we want to.
Doesn't the American Family do it out every year?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about, those little cutout
Safety
ones?
programs, yeah.
I think those are helpful.
But the real quick, the stop sign that I talked about at the intersection, is that something that we can get fixed? I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard enough for people to stop because it's.
Somebody hit it last year when there was a sale, a garage sale or something out there. And it just needs to, we need to have the frost out of the ground to be able to replace it. Moving on, item C, discussion and decision on town board salaries. Sarah Mushka, and Sarah's not here.
She sent me an email. She was just asking about what they are and what the job descriptions are, and so I sent her the state statute of the job descriptions and salary. And she said that she heard our town board meeting last month, and so she was not going to pursue it any further. She thought we had it covered, so.
Oh, do we have it covered?
Well, we were working on it, and honestly, so that kind of ties into what I was going to talk about, and the only reason I was going to bring it up here is that two of the possible solutions would need elector approval, and neither of them are the ones that I would use anyway, so if we don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
And just for your information, I think what we're having are some growing pains in the town of Lake Mills. We have this little town hall, we do not have it staffed, we have a clerk, we have a treasurer,
But no one is full-time.
No one is working full-time. Things are more complicated than they have ever been, and especially the election things. We had an incident this spring. Sarah was planning on going out of town on spring break. It was several weeks before the election. Someone called and said, could I get an absentee ballot? And I kind of panicked because I thought, well, Sarah's out of town. This person wants to go out of town. How are we going to cover this? And so we've been talking about the idea of perhaps using a deputy clerk to help with these election stresses, because our election system is very important, needs to be upheld, requires a lot of hands-on work, and also is very stressful for Sarah. So I don't know how we're going to handle this in the future, if we're going to look for a deputy clerk, but we're going to need to make some decisions as a town on how things could work better for the people of the town of Lake Mills.
The tricky part of the clerk job is that when it's not a general election year, typically general election years are the ones that really cause a lot of extra work. When it's not one of those, it's pretty easy to get through the workload in the part-time capacity that it's advertised as. But then in 2016, we had a general election. The primary for that general election was also enormous. That means lots of extra absentees to process. The buzzword early voting came into play, even though it's really called in-person absentee and it's always been around. It caught fire that year. We probably did over 100 absentee ballots before we even got to election day. And there's also the battling in the courts of the political parties trying to get an edge on the other, which causes law changes. So now I'm doing the work that is always there, plus there happened to be a subdivision, and there was a lawsuit that caused a document on my desk that was a fishing expedition that I had to take care of. So now I'm working full-time, and the salary doesn't change regardless of the workload, and it's just me. So it's pretty tough to, I wouldn't even call it a seasonal workload, it's a sporadic one, which makes it kind of tough to maintain. That's not the right word. Sustain, that's the right word. So I've been agonizing over this for a year, and that was the end of that election cycle when I could finally breathe and process, and I went through all of the stages of, anger and sadness and all of those things of the realization that, okay, maybe this is not something that you can sustain on your own anyway, but it also makes it kind of difficult to figure out the right solution, because you're not always going to need that help either, and it's just really unique. But, so again, the reason that I was bringing it up tonight was if you were going to A, change the salary, or B, make it an appointed position instead of an elected position, those are things that have to happen here. But I don't really like the salary change because of those years when it is maintainable. I don't think that the town should be paying for something when it's not needed. And I also don't think it should be appointed, because even though that means that you can require certain skills or certifications or degrees or any of those extra things, it means that person can come from anywhere, and with a town this size, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Right. So I guess I'm leaning toward the idea of a deputy clerk or even an administrative assistant to handle some of the things that you guys have going on. One of those two things I think would be the better option. So now that I wasn't going to talk about it, there you go.
So you're okay with the salary for you personally what you get if
I
it's...
don't, it's not about me, because I'm here until next April, and then who knows? It's not, that I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be, this is the job. It's currently, the salary for this job is $21,500, and it's part-time. So that's $20 an hour. And I did some research on what other municipalities do. There's a wide variety. I think probably half of them have an appointed versus a elected. Some are part-time, some are full-time, some are the clerk and the treasurer. There's every municipality, I guess, does what suits them best. And the salaries go anywhere from $17 an hour to $80,000 plus with benefits. So you can't really use that as a good gauge. However, I did get an email last week from the town of Farmington. They are currently gathering this information from neighboring municipalities, so I asked her to send me a copy of that when she's done filling in all the blanks. They're looking at not just the clerk, but the entire board. What are they? And then, and that's something too. I know that I'm not the only one who's doing extra. I mean, Dave gets calls in the middle of the night when a tree falls in the road or a sign goes down, and he has to go and fix it. And Hope is doing all of this learning of how roads are put together, and she's shoveling the sidewalks, and I've even seen her with a broom and a dustpan sweeping sand off the roads when it's not this high.
You got caught, girl.
Well, I mean, everybody's doing more than just sitting behind this table every month.
Well, when you talk about the years like the election years, when there's a real influx for the addition of the new subdivision, do any of the communities do bonuses? Where there would be a bonus?
I don't know that you can do that under statute. I mean, that's why, again, mine comes up on an annual meeting. You can, if it's a deputy or something, you can hire, like you can hire a contractor type of thing, but if it's an elected position, you really can't do that. It's set, and then that person, it's set. I mean, even like you couldn't do it, if you decided to increase any of the salaries right now, it wouldn't go into effect until after the next election.
Right, yeah.
So we're looking at an election again, when do you have it? April?
Oh, wait, you mean?
August?
August, November, then possibly February, and then we're up in April.
And we'll all be up for election next
Yeah.
December. I mean, our papers will be filed next December. So.
This December, yeah.
And if we were to work on putting a deputy clerk position together, I think that's something that we would have to budget carefully for, but I think it would be a prudent thing. I think it would spread the responsibility out, and like Sarah said, I think it really has a lot more to do with being available for absentee voting. And of course, all the duties that go along with organizing that. I think we've had a really good group of volunteers, paid volunteers who help us with election.
Well, and I thought I had that all figured out for the presidential because I had a person who was willing to help me process those absentees. And we were going to get together every couple of days or every week or something and just process them. And then the legislation just changed, and you had to, whether you're full-time or part-time, whether you have a staff or you don't, they expected you to check your voicemails, your emails, and your mailbox every single day and process those within 24 hours. So that killed it. It just landed back on me.
What do you guys think?
Well, thank you.
I really like doing this. It's just that it makes it tough. I've had it under control as a part-time job. Well, I have 4 kids that are about to enter, they're getting older. I have to start thinking about putting them through college. So I thought, well, okay, it's part-time. Maybe I can fit in another part-time job too, because I really want to keep doing this. And it just spread me too thin in that 2016 year. I wasn't ready for it. And that means I'm not doing a really good job at anything, which kills me.
What do you guys think? You think it would be a good idea to explore the idea of looking for a deputy clerk and give that a shot?
Hold on, I move that Steve Ziegler, I move that the town board look at possibility of creating a deputy clerk position.
And fund it, huh?
and fund it.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sue. Now, is there any more discussion on that?
When you're thinking of funding, are you thinking a per hour basis, I'm assuming?
In broad terms, I want the board to look at what that would mean, but the concept that hits me is we're looking at a very part-time position on an hourly basis, on an ad-needed basis, so that, you know, we would pay somebody, and I'm thinking maybe some of these folks have been working as the monitors at the election judges, potentially somebody in that pool. I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying it has to be some one of those people, but I want to have the board look at it seriously and see what that might mean. And it could turn into a 40 hours total over a 2-year period. I mean, I have no idea what we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, at least have a pecking order. Because right now, like a Jefferson County dispatch is a pecking order. First one person gets called, then it rolls downhill.
Yeah.
So, Sarah's not available 100% of the time. Hope isn't. I'm not. Lee, you're not either. We have things to do. We're out of town sometimes, and sometimes you're just stuck. So we have until our next annual meeting would be November. So we have between now and November to figure it out.
Yeah, the board budget meeting, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be all stressed out by the time that rolls around.
As I'm not now.
Well, you understand that we do meet as a group of taxpayers and electors twice a year. You approved our highway budget in November, and that is tagged on to our other regular board meeting in November, so.
You want to take a vote on that?
Yes, let's have a vote on that. All in favor of the motion that's on the floor, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you for your support. And things are changing. It's getting more and more complicated. Sarah and I had to do this little exercise for our for a lawsuit we were involved in. And in order to do that, we needed to go back and look at all of the records of the town of Lake Mills to what year did we go?
It was
You had to go 10 years
like
ago.
90s, I think.
Yeah,
You go
and
back 10 years.
the number of checks, the amount of checks, the price of things, and the contractors that we had were very minimal. Things have changed and escalated a great deal. It was a good learning experience, although I never want to look at that dusty crap ever again. But it's here. All right, moving on. Item E, discussion and appointments for town committees. I'm hoping that everyone will stay as they are on our town committees. There was some discussion about having a group of people who were interested in the Daybreak expansion form some kind of a group, but I have not heard from anyone in the public if they're interested in forming a group. We as a town board have been the listening board for that expansion, and what we have asked for from the Daybreak people is a biannual report on their progress. As you know, their new plant has been approved. They're beginning some pre-construction meetings. We have met with them. They are making plans to do this construction over the next 2 years, and we as a board really want to be informed of what they are doing and what's progressing out there. So that's the plan that we have to communicate with Daybreak in the future.
I have a,
Go ahead.
the other day, it was so bad at my house, we drove up over to Crossroad, and Anita and I ended up calling the police because my son was having like an asthma attack. So I don't know what they're still doing over there, but I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I don't know where you live, but can't you guys smell it over there? Where you guys are?
Depends on the direction of the wind.
Because whatever they're doing, they're saying they're fixing it, they're not fixing it.
And what did you do after that? Did you file a report with the sheriff?
Yes, we did.
That was the county sheriff you talked with?
I believe so, yes.
Sure, all right.
There was one with us and one with the county sheriff's department.
Okay.
And that was all for the health department.
Okay.
Jefferson County.
Okay, that's going to be my question if you want the health
Yeah,
department.
health department got both reports.
Okay.
Well, that's nice to know, thank you. All right, in the future, how are you going to handle those complaints? Are you calling Daybreak, or are you going to involve the police department?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't figured that out,
Okay,
but I'm not sure.
all right. It would be nice to have some communication on that, to know what's going on. So why don't you update us when you do those things? I certainly can apply some pressure there too, if you don't see a turnaround here. I think we need to have a way to work at these complaints.
I mean, my husband contacted Keith and stuff like that too, and he actually was there and he was very short with us, which I didn't appreciate, but, you know, he was there and gone.
Are you keeping a log?
I mean, we've got text messages and stuff.
I think you should keep a log and then keep us posted. I think we should have some positive way to interact with them. You know, I don't think we can work on hearsay. We need to have a log of some kind. And I know Anita's been doing that, so I think that will help.
I hope so.
Okay.
Has there been any more talk about the huge conveyor that they want to put across Crossman?
Well, when we met with them last week, we met with them at our road tour and we talked about the safety on Crossman Road. I asked the same question, when would they be ready with the conveyor plans? And they don't have the plans developed yet, so you'll have to follow our agendas as we find out about it.
Okay.
It will have to come to us, and we'll have to go through engineering that the town will provide to oversee their engineering, and then it will come before us as a permit. And at the same time, we're going to be trying to incorporate some how can I say it? Some cooperation as to the road and its state of repair when they finish the project. So we're going to hold their toes to the fire on that too. So keep a log. I think that would help us a great deal. Anybody else have anything they want to air out tonight? Well, it's always good to hear. I think when it's all undercover, it festers, and that's no good either. So I think it's really good that your concerns are being heard.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the annual spring meeting, April meeting.
And I'll second that. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thanks. We'll take like a 5-minute break, and then we'll have our regular monthly board meeting. All right, I welcome you to the town board meeting of the town of Lake Mills, April 17th, 2018, 8:30 p.m., Town Hall. Item 1, I'll call the meeting to order. The notice was posted at the town hall, the North End Boat Launch, and the cul-de-sac on Finch Brothers Road, also on the town's website. Item 2 is the adoption of the agenda for this meeting.
Make a motion to adopt April's agenda as printed.
And I will second that. Are there any questions or changes in the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The agenda is approved. Item 3, approval of the minutes from the March meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the March minutes.
I'll second.
I'll get it.
Is there any discussion on the March minutes? Hearing none. All in favor, please accept these by saying aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Minutes are approved. Item 4, the treasurer's report. Take a minute to look it over.
I see I made a mistake. I didn't have the CD listed there. I renewed it for 26 months. Was it 1.98%? I can't remember what happened. But if we would withdraw the money, except for a natural disaster, early, then we'd lose 6 months interest.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, but,
If you gotta do it.
yeah,
And then if we would have a windstorm or something, then we could,
then they'd be
They
okay
would-
with it.
all
yeah.
right.
Sure.
It's just that we decided, let's
Oh,
get the money out.
Yeah, for the fun of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
all right, great. Thank you, Sharon.
Make a motion to approve treasurer's report.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the April Treasurer's Report, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Treasurer's Report is approved. I feel bad about all those darn dogs, Sharon.
Oh, and yes, there's two delinquent personal property taxes out there, D&L Investment and Finish Line Custom Construction.
Oh, jeez.
I've been sending them letters, charging them interest, but I haven't gotten any response.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Item 5, approval of the general funding vouching.
I'll make a motion to approve April's disbursements of $39,164.48.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the general funding vouching? Please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign, thank you. Item 6, the reports, the police report. Matt?
So for the month of March, we had 76 hours of road patrol, handled 10 calls of service, we took one individual to Jefferson County Jail, a total of 43 traffic stops. 23 of them were warnings, 24 of them were citations. We ran 23 and a half hours of radar, stationary radar, conducted 16 residence and business checks, 28 park checks, and 1 extra patrol during March. We also received 4 applicants for another boat patrol position. Those individuals will be interviewed April 30th. We'll see if we can come up with another candidate for boat patrol officer. And we do have scheduled April 23rd, a department-wide meeting as a county board head meeting for the officers when I meet with them on the 23rd.
Thank you, Matt. Trying to think there was something I was going to say to you.
Did Hope mention to you, had a complaint of, I thought cars were going through London a little too fast?
134.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
I
that's
did
hard.
direct the guys, I gave them an extra patrol on there.
Okay.
They usually run it in London themselves.
Yep.
So this sounds like maybe it's south of London on 134.
Yeah, that's kind of the way they made it sound.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, and I did send it out to the guys at
Okay.
the Hopes did
All
send
right.
me one, so, at that time. And also, the squad car I should have cleaned up next week and hopefully on eBay. I gotta get that done. It was used by the guys that go up to a school, the annual boat school meeting up in Stevens Point. That's
Oh, good.
what it was on. So, it was under insurance, and I did speak with Sarah on it before we used it.
Yeah.
Good. Glad they used it. All right, item B, Joint Rock Lake Committee report. I think we beat that to death tonight. C, the Planning Committee report. Lee?
Yeah, so we met on April 5th. We had the discussion decision on the application for the condo plat by North Shore Estates, which is item 8A tonight. It passed 5-0 with 2 contingencies, which were both addressed with the email we got this afternoon. The approval letter from Lake Mills Fire Department and the permit as far as the construction and the access along the
I
driveway.
got it. I got it. It's in my pile.
Yeah. Okay, then we also discussed and approved the town raising ordinance, 5-0. I mean, the draft of that, and then made a couple updates to that, and I sent that along to Lee Leverton to review, and he's under reviewing that now. Also, we discussed the terms that were coming due at the end of April here. Jim Batiste, and he said he'd stay on, as well as Steve Zekoff. He would stay on as well for his 2-term term. So,
Great, thank you.
that's it.
Appreciate it. I don't think there are any other committee reports. We'll go.
Yeah,
Do you? Oh, the fire committee. Ooh, that'll be exciting.
Cambridge Fire Commissioners have met twice, and we're going to have a 3rd meeting coming up here, it looks like possibly by the end of the month. Oh, not a lot of good news. Right now, as far as financially, we got $150,863.37 in the general checking, which it sounds like we got money, but it's April, or is it February? I'm not sure. But anyway, we got a long time to go here. We did hire a appraiser to come and appraise the value of the existing fire station. $2,000, and that is going to be taken out of the building reserve fund, which is $53,445. Financially, we do not have any money to fund any of our accounts, which is a building reserve, a fire department reserve, and there's a building reserve, or EMS reserve. So budgets are really, I mean, Sarah, you guys are all gonna.
Yeah, I know we are.
I want to get fired. We've been, really, a lot of this is our own fault because we have been trying to hold our budget so tight that it's coming back to haunt us right now. It looks like projecting out that we are going to be about $90,000 to $120,000 budget overrun by the end of the year. So just be forewarned a little bit that probably come budget time, we're looking at a 16 to 20% increase, just to kind of cover where we're at. So just be prepared. That being said, we're still investigating the possibilities and looking at the building facility studies on to build a new fire station for the next 50 years, which is kind of going to be tough because of kind of financially, but we're looking at a couple different avenues, capital fundraising, 4 legs, the towns, the villages, donation, and the foundation. The Cambridge Foundation looks like that's going to be kind of an out for us right now. We did get a letter. We applied to the Cambridge Foundation for grants every single year, and which they have always been quite supportive of the emergency services, and Cambridge Foundation is very supportive of all community things. So we did not receive any money, which is quite a disappointment because not only looking at building a new fire station, but looking at improving equipment, it's going to really hurt. So the board stuck a lot of the money into the Ripley Park, the Utica Park. I think there's another community park that they stuck their money in. So we did not get any money, so like I say, that's going to kind of hurt. The fire truck that we're looking at buying, if we would have bought it by the first of the year, it would have been right around $520,000. It still would have been outfitted. Last month, it would have been $549,000, and right now, today, it would be $572,000 and some change. The problem with this is because we've delayed the purchase of that fire truck. In 2019, we had projected to replace another truck, which, if we hold that back a year, but if we wait until January of 2019 to replace this truck, then the cost is going to be $590,000. And just for kicks and giggles, I projected this thing out for this same fire truck. If we outfitted it exactly the same, in 20 years from now, that truck is going to be $1.2 million.
Why? Why does it keep going up incrementally so quickly?
Pretty much chassis increases, box increases, and of course now the new tariff thing is kicking in. So that's the big thing right there is the tariffs. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be uphill battle. It just, I'm suspecting for a capital outlay possibly that they could be coming to the town for an additional $8,000 possibly. Hopefully we can get some money out of the EMS fund because the EMS do get to keep their own run money, which we're kind of working with the board to try to get some of that money shook loose to offset our budget so that hopefully we can get this whole thing to work. The other thing is where we really get into the sad part of it, the volunteerism, community mindedness has really fallen by the wayside. We had went about 5 years without having any out of service. And about 2 months ago, we had about 17 hours out of service. And then about a month ago, we had 52 hours out of service, which is not a real good, proud record to have. So what we did is we went to Deer Grove and we wrote a contract with those guys for 2 months. And that cost us $28,105. And they got to keep the 21 run calls, which is about $1,000 a call. So they kind of hurt us on both ends. Right now, I do have to talk to our director tomorrow, and it looks like that we do have the schedule covered for May and June. So we're looking at hiring additional people. And on our meeting that we had in March 8th, our prediction is by 5 years from now that 100% of the EMS is going to be full-time, and probably about 50% of the fire station is going to be full-time. So that's kind of the reason why the fire station is going to be probably brought a little more to the forefront, because we already do have an apartment rented where the full-time staff for the EMS do stay overnight. So we are paying rent to there. So not a lot of good news. We have another meeting that's right now they're trying to put together for the 25th or 26th. These meetings have been starting at 6:30 and they've been going until 10:30. We've been through 3 of them and we pretty much spin our wheels in the mud. The EMS people are very, very passionate and I'm grateful for that. But they are tough to deal with. So that's the dog and pony show. If you guys want some fun, I'll let you know when the next meeting is. Or I got some nice juicy emails you can
Sorry,
read.
Dave, I forgot to mention that you spend all that time out there when I was telling people what else you do.
For fun.
I'm curious about.
I quit.
Yeah, your appointment never ends.
Yeah, I know it.
The state, they've changed some rules about how you can levy for fire. What's the current situation there?
Well, and we were trying to fish through that a little bit too. Right now, we are not like a school. We cannot hold a referendum. But that's going through the lawyers right now to see how does, and it's a very good question, thanks. How does it all work to give the commissioners the power to be able to have a referendum so that you can exceed your levy limits? The problem we run into is if we do it individually, because there's 1 village and 4 townships that every commissioner has a equal vote no matter what your percentage of ownership is. Right now, Lake Mills owns a percentage of fire trucks, a percentage of ambulances, and a percentage of a building. If you hold individual referendums and say Lake Mills fails and all the rest pass, then Lake Mills then would be assessed for the cost of that service for the district that Cambridge covers. You would lose all your ownership, but the payment would still be the same. So it would be very unfair. So the town of Lake Mills does have assets in the Cambridge Fire District that we own. So it really becomes quite difficult, and we also kind of explored if you take the town of Oakland, which is the largest percentage, and if they ran the referendum through them, if that would work, if we can't get the powers to the commissioners to do that. And if we can't do either one of those, then every single township would have to have a referendum individually. So the rules and the laws to kind of jump through all this whole thing is kind of difficult. So, but we are not isolated. I have 2 kids on the Lake Mills Fire Department, and that's the same scuttle, volunteers, covering shifts. And what most of the people in the service area expect, from what we have gathered, from the time they pick up the phone and call that 911, they want that ambulance at their door 6 minutes or sooner. So in order to do that, you have to have people on site, and it takes about from the time that call comes in, it takes a minute and a half to get your crew out the door. So if they had to leave from home, when you go back to 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whenever there was a call, you had to wait to see who showed up. Did you have enough people to run the rig? So now you have to have your schedules covered, so you know that you're going to have that coverage. And that's what everybody demands, and that's what we pay for. That's what I pay for, that's what you guys pay for, that's what you guys pay for. So we're really trying to accomplish all those things, because under state statute, the statute says that we must be 100% staffed. That's our obligation, that's our responsibility. So we had to do that by hiring a service. If we were looking at, the same thing that a lot of the other municipalities and the counties are looking at doing is central stations, because the expense is just unbelievable for the meds and replacement and upkeep. So anyway, we're looking at a lot of different things. The fire station, we did have a developer that is talking about maybe possibly donating 5 acres, and he would put this building up for us, and he would give it to us for no payments for 3 years. But the problem with that is in that 3 years, you are going to, the way I figured, accumulate another $1.5 million of payments. It's delayed, so you don't get anything for free. So anyway, just be forewarned, we're gonna have to increase our budget.
Thanks, Dave, for your service on the Cambridge Fire
Oh,
Commission.
you are so welcome. We didn't even get any cookies this time.
Wow.
Can't afford it.
Sounds like everything's kind of coming down. Okay. Guess we don't need to read the letter that came from the Cambridge Foundation. It's kind of disappointing that they decided not to fund anything this year, but I think they're waiting for a plan.
They are, and I think I did talk to a couple of the executive voting members, and they had kind of portrayed that they think we're asking for a little too much. And I think they possibly think that we've been looking at them as a way to balance our budget and a cash cow. And I tell you, we have leaned on them, and they have been very supportive. So I don't know if this is a little bit of a pushback. It was suggested that the executive members should attend one of our meetings so they get a full picture on when we get into the details of what we're looking at.
Okay. Are there minutes from that meeting, from those meetings?
Yes, which we usually just get them shortly before the next meeting, but Steve Strauss, did you want me to have Steve Strauss?
Yeah, I think maybe you should get those shared so that we have better information.
I'll do that.
I think that would help. All right, thanks for your service. Item 7, a period of comment and questions for anything that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any issues?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
And I know it's not really on the agenda, and we probably should talk about road bans. I am still being pressured about road bans. Obviously, the weather was starting to straighten around, but now with the snow and the predicted weather, I think my opinion is we let them expire. It's only going to be another 15 days.
Yeah, I think so too.
So do you guys think that that's the message I should be sending back?
Yeah,
to these
I
guys?
agree, yeah.
Okay.
We've held the line.
You guys have been doing great. Mike calls me and, he tells me, what you guys are going to do and how the trucks are coming in. So you guys, thank you very much.
We've been holding the line on, we thought we would make a decision and open the road weights up around the 15th of April or at this meeting. But now that we have all this frost and snow, we're going to hang on until the 1st of May. So total self-protection strategy. Too bad you missed the grilling on the roadways.
I got to miss some of it.
Okay, hearing no other comments and questions, we'll move on to item 8, review of applications filed, and item A, discussion and decision on an application for a condo plat by the North Shore Estates LLC at W7990 County Highway B. Stacy, welcome, and
Thank you. I have Erica with me, and then Chris is is with Ryan Quam Engineering, just in
Oh,
case there
hi,
are any
Chris.
last minute engineering questions, but
All right.
yeah, like I said, I sent over the highway permit. We got the letter from the fire department confirming what Strand had, Strand and us and the city of Lake Mills had, we made all those revisions to
What you've
the-
all agreed on, correct?
Yes.
All right. I know it's been a lengthy process and a learning curve for all again. I think the project is pretty much in shape. I would make a motion to approve the application for the condo plat for North Shore Estates LLC.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Any questions from the board? Your patience has been appreciated. And I imagine that as we go forward, we will be in communication as
Sure, I'll just
things.
keep tagging you in if you don't mind all of the
That's fine.
emails
Great.
coming from.
Good. Just look out, I might send a nasty one back. You just never know.
Maybe I'll stop and
Take that.
All in favor of approving the motion on the floor, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you for everything, appreciate it.
Now, we just need the weather to cooperate, right?
Amen to that.
Thanks, thanks, ladies, very much.
Both business hours, for sure.
And you too, sir, thank you for coming. Thank you. I thought you were here for the bike ride, now I'm disappointed. Thank you. Moving on, item B, discussion and decision on a request to hold a special event by the Cambridge Community Activities Program for the Lake Ripley Bike Ride on July 28th, 2018. Have the permit in front of you. Do you have any questions, even though we have no one here to answer them?
No, we got a phone number.
Okay,
I have we need a COI, certificate of insurance,
okay,
but
You say
I need one.
Oh, okay. All right.
we got till July.
We got till July, yeah. They've come back several
this is-
years
yeah.
now.
And they usually do a pretty good job.
It's not that big a ride.
Yeah, it's a low key thing. I'll make a motion to approve the special events for the Cambridge Community Activities Program on 7/28 from 7 a.m. to about 2 p.m.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Lake Ripley ride for July 28th, 2018, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Item 9, old business, discussion and decision on a raising ordinance. Lee texted me or emailed me today and said, did he have to have it ready for tonight? And I said, no, you get it going. So we'll remove this from this agenda and move it again to next month. I will be working with him on that. I also have that abandoned vehicle ordinance that I'm going to lay on him, and hopefully we can have that ready to go.
Yeah. Lee, I was looking at the email before I came down here. Now, I still didn't see anything in there on exactly where this pertains to. If it's R1, R2, is it the whole township? So did you guys talk about the plan commission?
No, the understanding is it's the whole township.
Whole township?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a problem with that, Dave?
Oh, I don't, but I just was curious.
Okay. All right, well, if you want to write something in with agricultural zoning of some kind, I still think the reason we're doing it is because we've had trouble on the lakefront.
Right.
But it's mostly been trouble with debris and, the moving of things. I don't think the fee on the ordinance is so steep that you couldn't apply for that if you were going to move the chicken coop or the barn. I don't know.
Right.
I kind of like to see everybody governed by the same debris management. But we will wait for Lee to review the drafts of both of those ordinances and then bring them forward. Item 10, new business. What?
One thing too, on when you're talking about ordinance and all that stuff, are we gonna update our road
Yes.
on there? Because I have, we got
Yeah,
new
all right.
roads that aren't on the list, and then we got a couple old ones.
All right,
so
we're
that's
gonna look at that.
Which is no big deal.
Is that
We do-
just the weight limit one?
No, weight limit and parking, because we need to include those new roads. And that's something else we need to
Aren't
put.
they Saddle Lane, would that one would have been on there? Bridle Path is.
Bridle Path is, but
Yeah, but isn't there a new road?
No, they're just
No.
extended. Bridle path
Okay.
goes all the way around now, and Saddle Lane goes
All right.
through. I'll check.
Okay, that just needs, we need to update that wording, wouldn't need any legal review. The other thing that we need to do in the next few months is hold Jason Forrest toes to the fire, make sure that he gets his post office box.
Oh, yeah.
And then I would like to have on our agenda the official acceptance of those new roads into the town's program.
Oh, the dedication.
We never really have dedicated
Yeah,
those roads.
Gotta be done, yeah.
We need to have him finish that. And I guess I'll communicate that to him.
Is there anything else that he has to do first?
Nobody has to finish those post office boxes.
So just that?
The signs are all there. Everything's done except for that.
So the state is always quick to take our aid away. Do you suppose that we're gonna get another half mile put back on
Yeah.
for state aid?
For the,
For
for body lane.
Well, the extension of,
Bridle path,
Bridle
yeah.
path and Saddle Lane.
Well, that's why we have to accept that officially
Yeah,
into our
because-
system, and then
yeah.
I have to submit that.
To the state, yeah.
We weren't ready to do it at the end of last year
Oh,
when
right.
this came up. Okay, let's see. New business, item 10, discussion and decision on road bid letting.
Okay, so you heard that the new computer is dead and needs to go back for warranty repair, warranty claim hopefully. So I did piece together some numbers for you just from what I was able to grab.
We
It's
didn't
just not
stress out
fancy.
about that.
I'm so far so good.
Okay,
Just don't push me over.
all right.
But really, there isn't a whole lot of money to go around this year because we've got, so I figured, I don't know how much we're bringing forward because I don't want to recreate the wheel. But
Okay.
I know if, say we start with the 191,000 that we always start with. I don't
Okay.
think we had a whole lot left over last year anyway. We've spent 37.5 so far, roughly.
Okay,
We had snow in April, so we have more to deal with there. So let's say we're down to 150. And we did the 150 levy, that brings us up to 300.
okay,
We have the balance on state trust fund loan number 1 to pay off if we're going to continue to do it, in 2 years.
okay.
Yeah.
That's 217.5.
Yeah.
So that leaves us 82.5. And we have 27,000 at the county. So we're at 109.5. Sound right?
109.5.
Yes.
All right.
No, Sarah,
Yes.
that's adding the 27,000 back in from the county.
Correct.
Okay, and we're only gonna be able to get that as if they do
Correct.
Court Lane, right?
I did pull up last year's 3-year road tour plan too, in case you wanted to, or the 3-year plan, in case you wanted to revisit that. I know we've changed some of it since then, but 2018 was going to be partnering on county engineering for Court Lane with an implementation date of next year. There was also seal coating as budget permits, Crowville Road was mentioned, and a mill and overlay of airport.
And so,
Yep.
I guess we should start with, where are we at with Court Lane? So, everything, we have applied for the grant that we would receive in our rotation, which is, I think, about $25,000. And we have the $27,000 left from money that we have banked at the county. And so we have like $50,000 worth of credit to use.
The $25,000, is that trip?
Yep.
Okay, so, but now we have to match that. So now are you gonna use our county money to match that, or do we have to match that with our own funds?
I was thinking that we would match it with our own funds.
So then that actually would give us $75,000. Or were you getting there and I just beat you to it?
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
just so you got it in your head how that's
Yeah,
gonna
I
work.
do.
And then we maybe are going to need another 25 to put in.
to $100,000.
Mm-hmm. And we're splitting the bill with the county.
But now we're only responsible up to that house.
Exactly. We're splitting the bill with the county. And the estimate is $200,000
And to go how far?
to do the whole road.
Is that like up to the park gate? Or what?
Up to the property we serve.
To the
And if
corner.
they do any more, they'll be paying for it.
Okay.
So that lineal footage.
$200,000.
What should surprise you about that?
What is that, 3/4 of a mile?
They gotta widen it, I bet.
Yes, yes. It's
And the county's
just
gonna do the
about
work.
as long as Newville. Yes, the county's doing the work. Otherwise, we'll never be able to get that money out of them.
Right, yeah, I agree with that.
So that's pretty much gonna suck up our,
Well, that's, would you say 50,000 of our money?
mhm.
Okay, so that's half.
So yeah, that gives us about 40,000 to spend, but that's not leaving anything in for November or December or
Right,
snowfalls.
right.
Which he hasn't billed us in November or December in a long
Yeah,
time. Of course,
yeah.
that's the year that we'll get snow in
Yeah,
October.
But we
Yeah.
could, we could ask them not to.
Yeah, we can
You
figure
know.
that out.
So then we'd have about $40,000 to spend. Well, you want to talk about Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yep. And, if we're gonna have to pay for some sweeping right away, you're gonna have $3,500 tied up there, because you're gonna have to pay him for the sweeping. We can't blame all of the gravel on the road on him.
You can try.
We can sure try. I mean, we're gonna have to negotiate. I did have these numbers put together. I wanted you guys to take a look at that, just to give you an idea. The other thing that I did since our meeting was, I did meet with Glenn Wolf, and he is willing to do some rotary brushing.
Oh, great.
So that's set up. I also asked him to give us a bid for his ditch mowing. So
Okay.
that will be coming to us.
Okay.
I also talked with Krizan about doing some brushing, because those two things kind of go hand in glove, the rotary brushing and the manual brushing. I guess what I was thinking is I wouldn't allow any of those guys to spend more than $5,000 to get those those jobs done. Right away, though, we've already
Now we're down to 30,000.
nicked off, and we're not doing a lot this year. We're just not doing a lot.
Potholes.
Potholes
probably
will be there.
Potholes, and you guys have that too.
Yeah.
You have Jay's bid for that. Here again, we can't get started with that until things warm up.
Yeah,
And
freezing
he's
thaw.
gonna bill us by the hour. And, I guess we need to do this. I don't know if we're gonna be in a position to do any other seal coating other than repair work after what happened tonight, so.
No, because you don't know how much it's going to cost. Obviously, they need to stand behind their work, but if that gets us down to $30,000, we really, other than, the
Minor
paint
things.
of potholes,
Yeah.
but really, I guess there's no bid letting to do, because until we find out exactly what stuff is going to cost, there's no money.
I also, I see you have this name on your,
Yeah, he had called and he was bugging about the ditch, and I feel obligated to talk to you, that he wants to hire somebody to come in and to do from the telephone pole down to the bottom. He wants to take the dirt and put onto his field to keep the water out of his field, and he will pay for it, but then he wants to be reimbursed.
okay. So after our road tour and after looking, you guys probably aren't aware of this, but Airport Road is, Joe Spoke did some burning there, and he was calling about Parsonage Lane. And when he did the burning, it exposed all of the fieldstone that is in that ditch. And as you know, Airport Road is on the list, and as we went forward with Newville Road, we did a lot of the prep work ahead of time in the years ahead. And so that was one of the angles that I wanted to work. I want to find a contractor to go in there and harvest that fieldstone, get it out of the right of way, and Glenn and I discussed this when we were out there. He wasn't real interested in it. I talked to Steve Holman about it.
Oh, okay,
Steve
yeah.
Holman was interested in it. So he was going to look at it now that we've had this snow, haven't made any progress. But I would like to see that. Glenn and I talked about the fact that in those steep ditches as you go
Yep.
down the hill, a lot of that cobble,
Steep,
that
yeah,
rock
yeah.
could go in there.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we get that ditched out and cleaned out. I counted, Joe has, I think, 4 field access roads into those fields, and that day is over. He will have 1.
Okay.
Maybe 2. You can talk to him about that. You're the culvert inspector. Because if we ditch that out, we're not going to leave those flat places. He's
Right.
going to have to put in
Yes,
some
yeah,
field
I agree.
roads.
Yep, yep.
Just so we're on the same page
Yep.
there. So that's what I'm trying to apply myself to find somebody who is interested in harvesting that stone and moving it around for us.
Okay.
And if they get a little something and we get a little something, that'll
Do they want
balance
to
it
grab
out.
the ones in the creek too?
Well, that is the other thing we need to talk about
Oh,
next.
that's gonna take special equipment there.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's.
Well, did you see that email today?
Yes, I did.
So is Joe not going to put more stones, or I mean, he doesn't put them in, his help puts them out there. Is that?
He's in charge of that property, Sharon,
I
and
know, but
I'm
that's-
going to threaten his
I
life.
mean, is he gonna pile them up again?
I'm going to give him the same
I
treatment.
know what you're saying, Sharon. If you go in there and you spend the money to clean them up and he just turns around and does it again.
Yeah, is he gonna,
Yeah, and you can see the property that he has on the north side of the road. He literally dumped him right in the ditch.
Yeah, so.
It's yeah.
Yet to be worked out. And it has to be done in a very cost-effective manner because we have basically not a lot of cash to operate with. But it would be a great step to get that ditch cleaned up if we're going to move forward in another couple of years on airport. And that was the other thing, we did ask for airport pricing from Payne and Dolan, just so we'd have an idea. And what he was suggesting is that we split it into 2 parts because we won't be able to swing the whole thing. So we'll have a little better idea. I mean, we asked for that last year when we were trying to pull that all together, so.
And that is something we'll have to continue to, because obviously we're on our skip year. So next year we'll have to be looking at doing that. So we have to have our stuff together to know how
This
much money we want.
whole road document is not the Bible. It just begins to get really
Well, and it's a year old,
messy.
things change.
Yeah.
Yep, Mud Lake Road is not doing well. My opinion, after when we looked at in road tour, that the spot that Joe was talking about for the ditching, I think it drains the roadbed quite adequately. I think his biggest complaint is when the water comes down along the roadside and then goes out into his field. Well, hey, you know what? We got that problem, and it's not the county's fault. It's not the township's fault. You just got to fix it. So, I think from a road standpoint, I think it's fine.
Well, that's why if we can find somebody to work in that ditch, and come up with a compromise, I kind of feel like I do about the people who live in Shorewood Hills. I mean, there are some troubles in life you just have to accept.
Yeah. So what do you want to do as far as ditching then? Because should we approach Jeff LeBake about that little strip on Hope Lake Road, and then where the water runs across the road on Airport Road that comes out of Joe's field? Or do nothing? You could probably figure I'm going to throw $4,000 to $5,000 each. Probably would be less than that, probably more 3. But
Well, can you see if I can find somebody to work with? See if
Sure.
Holman
Yeah,
is
that's fine.
willing to work it?
you remember
And-
the spot there on Hope Lake too, that just east of
Yes, that needs to be ditched.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd have those 2 spots. And if Steve wants to do it, I mean, that's fine.
I could put that out to bid too. Let's see what he comes back
Yep,
with,
sure.
once we get rid of the snow.
Yeah.
Okay, so really, there's nothing we can do as far as road letting right now. Just try to work with the minimal budget we have on those projects we talked about. And I think we should go ahead and allow Jay to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Once we get cleaned up, by the middle of July, we should know how much extra cash we have to do whatever we need to do. And so, item B, the discussion and decision on the ditch mowing. I will wait for Glenn to bring that forward to us. He was looking at the same numbers he had last year.
Oh, great.
He felt pretty confident that he has some experience now and could do it.
They did it pretty efficiently.
He did a nice job. So that's what we'll wait till next month to see that. Item C, the discussion and decision on the sand sweeping. I wondered what you guys would have to say. Is there, I mean, we're gonna have to hold Scott's toes to the fire on this, but how are we gonna clean up these cul-de-sacs?
Well, Scott's needs to be held for anything in Sherwood Hills, but I think the main thing we have to look at is Corth, or Elm Point Road and Gallup Lane. Are you gonna do anything up at Gallup? There's just a ton of stuff up there. And then we just, Sherwood Hills, when,
Short Hills, some spots, yeah.
or when they come
Bottom of
in,
the-
maybe Sherwood Hills Road.
The road,
Yeah, otherwise, why should you have two people, you know, if Scott's is, we're gonna hold them to sweep the arteries that they did, then,
Here's the forest.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, you have the paperwork from
I
Forrest,
got that.
which is essentially close to the same price. I don't want to pay for any of it. I
Here.
want them to do it. I got it in my
I know,
file.
but it's an extra.
Okay. So he estimated, I added it up, it's like comes to $37.50, and what Scott said was $3,500, so I don't want to even pay for that.
No.
So I think we'll just wait and see what I can negotiate. I do want to talk about this pond excavation.
oh yeah, that's.
And what did I total that? It's in my pile here. It's almost $7,000, 665.
Ouch.
I don't know, is that something that we want to mess around with?
And that looks horrible.
Yeah, it looks really bad.
It's just over 3,000. You're talking the pond?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just over 3,000, right?
Well, here's what I came up with.
Oh, but that includes the street sweeping though, right?
No, I don't think so.
That's not how I look.
Well, add it up, 500, 725, 1,050, 300, and 210.
Yeah, so it's 2,800,
How
2,785.
did I do that? I got that all screwed up. Well, then I think it's worthy. I don't know how I screwed that up. What did you come up with, 27?
85, yeah.
All right,
I would think that should be, that should just get it done.
let's do it.
Julie?
Call that brushing?
That thing is
What do you call
horrible.
Yeah, we should do that, yeah.
Did we
I
call
don't
it
know how much
pond
it
cleanup?
contributes to the
that? Yeah,
Pond
but
excavation?
what budget does it
every
have?
spring.
It would hold more water,
Yeah.
but then at the same time, you know, there's two catch basins.
Yeah,
Those would need to be cleaned out because they're probably not working very efficient either.
Where's that?
At the bottom, right at the pond.
Yeah.
The pipe that goes in.
Yeah. Well, I think we got to do that.
Yeah, we gotta do that. That should be done.
So then let's have a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve Forest Landscaping and Construction to remove the sediment from the pond on Sherwood Hills Road for $2,785.
And I'll second that.
Now, they do need to be sensitive when they clean that out so that they don't over dig that thing.
Yeah.
The backhoe should be able to feel the cobble on the bottom of that because
Yeah.
it should be firm
Yeah.
so that they
Is this the
don't
Sherwood
remove
Hills
it.
Road one? Not the, oh, I was thinking of the drainage pond.
No.
oh, that's in
Okay,
good shape.
good.
I did walk in there and look at the drainage pond. It maybe will need to be brushed sometime in the future, but it looks really good.
Get it when it's small.
Yeah, and I did go down that road and mark all those trees we noticed that
Oh,
were
okay,
dead.
good. I'm surprised that we didn't get called.
I'm surprised
You know,
somebody
with all
hasn't
that
called.
wind.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought, sure,
me
it's
too.
like every time my phone rang, I thought, oh no.
Living in terror of the phone
Yeah,
call.
really, yeah.
I love my job, I love my job. All right, we have a motion.
I just saw already.
We have a motion on the floor, let's approve that. All in favor of the motion Dave has put forward, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed. I'm glad you brought up Gallup and Elm Point. Okay, item D, discussion on a ferry pier. Ferry pier's fallen into disrepair, and our pier provider was nice enough to go to Dave's Turf and Marine and ask for a bid. The pier that we have currently is 32 feet long. Jerry thinks we should extend it. I think it needs to stay at the same 32 feet because...
Is the water going down?
Well, it's got to be 3 feet deep at the end, and it's there for sure. So, a new pier from Dave's Turf and Marine, which would be a 4-foot pier, 2 16-foot sections, multi-dock pier, in a beige color with an aluminum deck, will cost us $3,920, less a discount of $800, with a $300 charge for assembly, delivery, and installation. They also would like to have $90 plus for each 2-foot vertical bumpers. And I was saying, I think we just need to have a couple of them on the end. So 2. And altogether, this will come to $3,510. And this, I believe, could come directly...
This is the one you're talking about?
Yes, it's going to be one that wheels in and out. It
Okay.
doesn't have a T on the end or a bench, just a straight 4-foot.
Why the beige aluminum? Was that?
That's what he quoted, was beige. I don't know why. Not a wood deck, but a permanent deck. Doesn't need any maintenance. And my experience with the bumpers is that if you just protect the end, you're in good shape. You can't save everybody from bashing into the damn thing. What do you think? What's your pleasure?
I'm okay with it.
I would then motion to purchase a new pier for the ferry park
We should have a bench on it, don't you think?
area
Yeah, that'd be nice.
for no more than $3,550. How's that?
I'll second it.
And if you want a bench, I'll put one out there
No,
when you go down there. I'll put one out there when you go down.
So-
And maybe an umbrella.
Well, speaking of that pier, that area, I've been hearing lots of reports of garbage.
Well, that's time for lake cleanup again. I led the crew that cleaned up Ferry Park last year, and we picked up no less than a trailer full of crap. I'm hoping
How's
it's
that?
not that bad.
Well, what I was hearing is that people are stashing it underneath the canoe kayak rack
Really?
because there's no other place to put it.
Well, there is no
and
other
they're
place.
not- Should we need a sign, take out what you bring in? Is it come to that you have to be told?
I hope not, Sarah. I think it's just one of those things that we're going to have to deal with. You know, we discussed the fact of putting a dumpster down there, and we thought that was going to be abused, and it's just the nature of a park.
Who seconded that? Sorry. Who seconded that motion? I missed
David.
it. Thank you.
What happens to the old one?
Well, that's a good question. What do you think should happen to the old one?
Does it have any value to anybody?
I don't know. I guess we'll estimate that when it comes off and take a look at it. We do need to renumber that kayak rack.
We also need to number the new one and get a sign for it.
Okay.
I have some fire numbers I need to order, so I was just gonna order.
Okay, so
another
you order
sign.
the sign and we'll work on the numbers.
Okay. Did we get a package of them? Did we might have,
Yeah, we
still
did.
have
We
some
just
around?
bought
I
'em,
think
yeah.
they might be in the closet.
All right, you look for them. And then I can do that. I probably will be put in charge of Ferry Park again, and I had a heck of a good crew, and we'll get that baby cleaned up. And we may not have that new pier for the opening of fishing season, but certainly shortly after that.
I already did. We've had boats out there. Since the North End launch has been out there, I've seen boats.
So there is a place to get on the lake. The North End launch is in before it got cleaned up or treated, but so we skip a year.
We're happy enough with Elm Point as far as that.
Well, the Elm Point Pier is really relatively short, and it's in pretty good shape. You know, I think in the future, maybe another year or two, maybe we want to evaluate that one and take a look at it. Look at it this summer when it's out. But it's really short, and it seems to be doing a good job. What happened to the ferry pier is, I think somebody backed into the approach. And so it got all bent up, and we had to do some repair work on it, and it's just had a better day. So I appreciate Jerry putting that together, and he'll be happy he won't have to put it in. But I'm sure we'll see a reduction in his bill, too.
Okay.
I'll make sure I remind him of that tomorrow. Okay, correspondence.
I just realized that I don't have bills or board expense sheets on there, on the agenda.
Oh, well.
I missed it. Correspondence. So there was one resident out near Crogville Road, maybe on Crogville Road, that said she was writing in hopes that you could add a topic to the agenda, but it was late. Wanted to follow up on the subject of the SR criminals in our township. She's particularly interested in if our township could write an ordinance regarding the number of houses one can own and rent out to DHS in a township. I know you guys did some research on, I don't know if you just want to touch on the ordinance idea or not.
I don't know, man, is there anything, there's nothing we can really do about
I
that.
think you
The
and me
state-
talked about that, Hope. I mean,
Yeah.
there's very limited restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it court defensible? You'd come up
Right.
with a lot of ordinances.
Yeah.
Reference how many homes we could restrict? Boy, I'd have to look in, I mean, we'd have to look into that, but I
Yeah.
don't believe that would be permissible.
I think it's been proven in the courts that
Right.
these ordinances don't stand up,
Yeah,
so.
and I think they missed the mark a little bit too, because if the person resided in Jefferson County, that's fine. But when they start shipping them in from out of the county, I do stumble with that one.
You too, well, we're getting one.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what they try to do. They try to place those people as close to their home county as they can. And these two offenders, I think, are coming from Columbia County, or Dodge.
Dodge.
So, you know, it's,
Don't we have some from Waukesha?
We only have the two.
Just
Well,
the two.
we only have one right now.
Yeah.
The second one's coming from Dodge.
We got a couple other ones that are
One in
close to
Oakland.
us.
Well, Oakland, just outside of our jurisdiction, on age is north of 18. Those are from, I believe, Racine and Kenosha.
Yeah.
They're not from ours. I believe, I know they're from outside the area.
well, I think, in reply to that, Sarah, I guess I would just say that we hear what you're saying, and we're certainly not going to sleep on it. To that end, let me ask you this question, Matt. Now that you're retired, congratulations. It's been a real benefit to us to have you come with your training from the Sheriff's Department.
Yes, it is.
How do you keep your training up?
Just 24 hours of training.
And we can support you through that?
I already got 24. I mean, this whole next year is done. So just like Bob went to when I sent him to the school that he goes to up in Green Bay, that's part of his 24 hours. We're only responsible, right now it's only me, Bob Delaney, and Cody Jepson that we're responsible for. The other ones work for full-time
I
agencies.
work for full-time agencies.
So we're not the primary in that. So there's plenty of schools and other stuff that I'll be
I just
attending
wanted to
ranges and
ask that question of how you would keep that going, and I imagine that our relationship with the Sheriff's Department is different, but the same.
yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, if we have questions about this kind of behavior, or if we begin to think that we're going to be bombarded with this, I guess we can work with the sheriff on that. I thought it was really clear what the sheriff stated when we had our meeting,
Right,
so.
and I work closely with the sheriff, and I'm waiting for him to put the flyers out on the second one. I just talked to them on Friday, my last day with the sheriff's department, and they hadn't got notice that he was going in, that they could put the notices out.
Okay.
So I'm working hand to hand with him, and he's gonna give me a call once those notices are ready.
Okay.
You know,
I
we'll
just-
hand them out.
I just wanted to ask the question of how we were going to keep you up to snuff, because we don't want to
Yeah,
let you
no,
go
I'll
anywhere.
make sure I keep up the snuff.
You're indentured now, you're not retired.
Don't you have a chief's convention too also you have to attend every year?
Okay, sorry to get you off the
There's
topic.
So much training out there, and there's tons of free training out there for law enforcement. It's unbelievable.
Oh, good.
Good, thanks.
Okay, there is a meeting scheduled on the core program pipeline stuff. There's a couple pipeline things in here, but there's a meeting coming up in May if you guys want to keep up on the pipeline. There was a notice that went out in everybody's Lake Mills light and water bill about needing to boil tap water, and if you read a little further, it says the cause of the missed monitoring requirement is the report was not submitted by the deadline due to an oversight by staff, but they still had to send this out to everybody that their water may or may not be contaminated, so thought I'd pass that along. It affects the town hall here. Enbridge, speaking of the pipeline, renewed their road use permit. Give you that. Another notice of a public hearing. The Plan Commission of the City of Lake Mills to be held on Tuesday, April 24th. It's a parcel along Highway B, changing from single-family residential to mixed residential, a parcel on Elm Street / Linden Street, going to planned business, one on Ferry Drive, going to single-family residential from community institutional facility, and another one on Crestview Lane, going to single-family residential. Lots of zoning changes there. This is another one that, this one each of us got this, our own individual mailing here, but they clearly don't know where they're sending it, because there's a city clerk one, there's a mayor one, there's just sending out blanketed information. It's a safety information for emergency response partners. So you can all have that to go home and take a look at.
I'll take one that's mayor.
Well,
You-
that's
you
good.
have one that's
Mayor, there you go. Take the mayor.
I'll take the one. You can have the city.
There isn't one addressed any other
I'll
way.
take
other
public
than-
works.
Oh, that's nice.
Planning and zoning.
There you go.
There you go. The City of Lake Mills also sending us a notice that they changed an ordinance, and it requires us to have our plumbing line inspected. You heard about this? Purpose of the letter to inform you of the requirements regarding inspections of plumbing system cross connections for the properties you own or operate, which are referenced above and associated with an account number provided. In order to comply fully with the DNR rules regarding cross connections, the City of Lake Mills requires that all property receiving water service from Lake Mills Light and Water must inspect their plumbing system and certify no cross connections exist. And we have until, I forget what the deadline, November 1st.
Oh, I think I'll handle that.
All right. Notified that Daybreak Foods was granted their conditional use permit by the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, and they did take the 5 conditions that you listed out from the Land and Water Conservation Department and included those.
Okay.
And open book. I got some potential dates from our appraiser, assessor. He's got, he could do board review on June 4th with open book May 21st. He also has June 5th and 6th available. So what are we looking at, a Monday, June 4th? How's that grab you? Too early to talk about? Even though it feels like February, June's gonna be here
May
soon.
21st is the open book.
If that's okay with you, yeah.
BOR, anybody got a problem with a Monday?
I don't, you talking 6 to 8 again, something like that?
Well, for board of review, yeah. Open book, he can do whenever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 to 8, all right. Well, let's set that as a
Pencil it in.
pencil it in. Ish. I better do it too.
Hopefully he doesn't have medical issues again this year and we're good to go.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm pretty sure, Lee, you do have some board expense.
Oh,
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, from your mileage?
I did have one
no,
more
I'm
thing.
good for now.
Next month.
Next month.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I do have one more thing
Okay.
that came in through
have
the
450
website right here.
You suppose we're gonna lose
They couldn't be here tonight to talk about, They were, last year, this is Mike and Ann Williams. Last year, we came before the board with concerns about the Pie Lake Association's proposal for a new pier. Their pier proposal would interfere with our riparian rights and the use of our own pier. We also had concerns about safety issues and boat congestion at the end of the lake with a pier so large and an increase in the number of boats it would accommodate. The Pie Lake Association said they would go back and modify their pier design. Imagine our surprise last week when we found that they installed the pier that we and several other neighbors objected to at that meeting. We also had the impression that the town board wanted to see the pier redesigned. We know with photographic evidence that they moved a section of their fence, which seems to have changed the line of sight in relationship to their new pier. Their fence was moved without the benefit of a survey. We respectfully ask that the town board intervene to rectify this with the full extent of their authority. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I didn't know anything about the fence.
No.
I'm assuming if they move the fence, you better have a proper survey.
I think we're going to let this play out. I'm certainly following the... And to your question about Elm and Linden Street, this is the parcel that has already been surveyed off and annexed off. Okay, item 12, list of meetings scheduled. May 1st, the Planning Commission at 8, May 1st, the Joint Rock Lake Committee, May Day. May 8th, the Town Board meeting at 8, May 5th, Monday garbage route, yard waste pickup beginning at 6 a.m.
Is that going to be too early at this point?
No.
Okay.
I can't predict the weather, but it's supposed to get 60.
Yeah, they're
I see
talking.
people got stuff piled up already.
A week from now, they're talking maybe 65 degrees, so
And
I'm
we're
holding.
talking open book on the 21st, and that time he will announce, and the same for Board of Review, 6/4/18.
Okay.
I would motion to adjourn the meeting.
I was second.
Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.